Webster Tarpley here in Washington, D.C. For all of your needs in understanding what's going on in the world, you got to make your headquarters Tarpley.net, Tarpley.net. We've got quite a number of postings over the last weeks as the world crisis has deepened. So have our broadcasts and other articles and things have increased. Now, I want to especially call to your attention the best book you're going to find about the beginnings and the causes of World War I. And this is going to be challenging for some people because it does involve foreign languages. But still, the principal article, the one by me, Edward VII, the Triple Entente, and World War I. And it's actually the original title is something more dramatic. Let's see if we can find it. The original title of this article, the article itself is King Edward VII of Great Britain, Evil Demiurge of the Triple Entente, and World War I. And this article essentially is the most concise and the most capable summary of King Edward VII and his personal network. And I point this out because we have a couple of books which belatedly are starting to take, what can we say, tentative steps to some degree in this same direction. In other words, focusing on King Edward VII. But the problem that a lot of them have is that they are stuck with the Carroll Quigley idea that somehow the Milner coefficients and the Milner kindergarten are somehow a force of their own. One book even arrives at trying to say that Milner is the guy who started World War I. Certainly, the British did start World War I. The interesting one book is called Lord Milner's Second War. This is by a guy called Cafferky, Cafferky. Lord Milner's Second War, the Rhodes-Milner Secret Society, the origins of World War I, and the start of the New World Order. The problem with this is that this is several steps down from the level where the decisions were actually made. In other words, the personal protagonist of setting up World War I is King Edward VII of Great Britain and nobody else. And all these other people are essentially tools, stooges, running dogs, clerks, mercenaries working for King Edward VII, who did the diplomacy personally. The other question is that although the network is absolutely centered in Great Britain, it is a continent-wide Freemasonic network and includes these people like Théophile Delcassé of France, Izvolsky of Russia, and many others. So this notion of Milner as somehow the evil demiurge, he's not. The evil demiurge is precisely King Edward VII. And Milner is an important guy, but he's operating in this field which is determined by King Edward VII. The point of that being, there are some times in the history of the British monarchy when the constitutional monarch in recent centuries coincides with the head of the oligarchy. And this is what King Edward VII, or Edward, Prince of Wales, was able to do from 1860 to 1900. He created this unparalleled network, virtually ran French politics in particular. So the head of the oligarchy coincided with the monarch, and that's what made him the most successful political operator of the House of Windsor since its founding, and the most successful British monarchical operator since who? William the Conqueror? I don't know. There's another book here called, let's see if we can find it, The Hidden History of World War I by Daugherty and Mcgregor, and they also make some efforts in the right direction. King Edward VII does come up here, and Milner, King Edward VII, and Churchill. Of course, Churchill was simply a clerk for Edward VII. Milner was an operative in the service of King Edward VII. So the climate is changing. These books are worth something, but don't start with them. Start with this other one, my book. And it's put together by Progressive Press of California as La France Conquise, because in addition to what I say about this, I have called people's attention and discovered or rediscovered these important books. Émile Florent, former French foreign minister, in 1907, had written "France Conquered by Edward VII." That French politics were essentially run by Edward VII, and indeed that Edward VII was more powerful in Paris than he was in London. And this other interesting pamphlet, Reinhold Wagner's attack on King Edward VII, the greatest criminal against humanity in the 20th century, King Edward VII of England. So that's all in there. There's also an essay there on Théophile Delcassé, which is the question of Fashoda and these shenanigans in Africa. But the book by Florent is prophetic, and the summary that I give, I think, is better than the ones in these other books. So I urge you to get that book. You're going to want that on paper, and the copies of Émile Florent are very hard to find. It's not hard to read French, right? When you learn a couple of essential morphological tools, you can go ahead and do it. All right, so we're doing all this. But now, are we in July 1914 right now? Well, as we said, Sarkozy and two Supreme Court justices have been held in jail at least overnight, as far as I can see. And the question is there a network of agents in the French Supreme Court? And my comment is, it's been pretty evident to me for some years that the Rats Cabal is nothing but a network of agents inside the U.S. Supreme Court. So it indicates the depth of this crisis that we're in. Now, concerning Iraq, first of all, even though I think Ukraine is more important, I think by far, the U.S. is still refusing to bomb Iraq. Now, this is funny. Not that I'm in favor of bombing. I'm not. I don't want the U.S. to bomb Iraq, but I'm simply trying to point out, when did the U.S. ever refuse to bomb anybody? They're always avid to bomb. Why is it that they don't want to bomb now? It points again to the idea that this ISIS business is a fraud. We're told by the U.S. State Department, on the one hand, ISIS is the end of the world, right? Chaos, delirium, and the collapse of everything. It's the end of the world. But we can't bomb them until they have a national unity government. We can't do anything to help Maliki because he's not inclusive. He's not politically correct. You see how ridiculous this is. ISIS is a U.S., British, NATO operation paid for by the Saudis and others. Back in a minute.